the world of medicine, where every decision can change lives, your peace of mind is crucial. This is where Pattern steps in. Imagine insurance made simple, fast, and personalized just for you. With Pattern, you're not just getting disability and life insurance, you're ensuring your future and protecting your greatest asset, your income. In the past 10 years, Pattern has transformed the way over 20,000 doctors secure their financial well-being. Discover the simplicity of securing your future at patternlife.com or click the link in the description.
We work hard as physicians to take care of the health and well-being of our patients. But when it comes to our money, do we have the same condition of care? Probably not. Let's change that together. Welcome to the Financial Freedom for Physicians podcast, where we'll fight and advocate for your financial literacy. As always, I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Liu. Thanks for being here. Let's jump into the show. Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode, and I've got a fantastic guest for you today, Matt O'Neill. He is the host of the Good Mood Show with Matt O'Neill, and Matt and I actually go a long ways back with Tony Robbins' Day with Destiny 6 years ago, so I know a lot of his story and his journey in real estate investing. It's grew in that, and now he's doing this helping individuals with state and with performance and with mood. And it's going to be a fantastic conversation. So I'm happy to welcome Matt to the show. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, my Date with Destiny brother. What's happening, man? It's so cool to connect with you again.
Yeah, I remember, 6 years ago, we were talking backstage, and it's amazing how fast time flies, and it's great to see you doing this. And so talk about, for the audience that doesn't know you, talk about your journey and how you got to start your show.
Yeah, I really want to bring as much value as possible. And I know people are coming to your podcast to learn how to live the most abundant life they can, to be financially free. And what I learned, I actually learned this from Tony Robbins. He said that you think that being hard on yourself is helping you succeed and achieve more. A lot of times doctors are really driven people. They say, I'm my own worst critic. No one's harder on me than I am myself. And we think that's a good thing, like it's a badge of honor. And what Tony taught us was that actually you're really successful in spite of how hard you've been on yourself. And if you weren't as mean to yourself, if you weren't as hard on yourself and you felt really amazing, your success would go through the roof. He's like, right now, it's like you're trying to run and you got this giant parachute of you being hard on yourself holding you back. And he said, as soon as we start being kind to ourselves and nice to ourselves, we cut all the cords of that parachute and we run 10 times as fast as we ever have. And I heard that at a business mastery, a Tony Robbins business mastery event. And that idea just shook me because I'd always been really hard on myself. When I was a kid, I was really hard on myself. And, I needed to get really good grades. And then when I got into my career, I was really hard on myself. And then I was really hard on everyone around me. Like nobody could live up to my standards, right?
Yeah.
And I was kind of driving everyone away. I was wedging everyone away from me. And this, if you're anyone that resonates with that idea that it's lonely at the top, it's probably this idea that you're being too hard on yourself and too hard on those around you, because it's not lonely at the top. You can actually bring tremendous connection and relationships with you to your success, and everyone can win with you. And it could be like this incredibly joyful, connected occasion. So what I teach now is what I learned. And so let's just talk about why this is true. So Christopher, on a day that you feel really bad, like let's say you got in a fight with someone you love and you made them cry, and then now you're really upset. Like when you feel really bad, how good are you at your job?
Well, I mean, your mood affects your performance, so not very well, yeah.
Yeah, when I feel bad, I do really bad. If I get in a fight with my wife, Katie, I can't get anything done, right? Like
Mm.
Well, that's kind of how it is when we're getting in a fight with ourselves about how we're not doing enough. We make ourselves feel bad, and then our performance it suffers. It doesn't help it. So the flip of this is like, dude, on a day when you feel on top of the world, like at a Tony Robbins Date with Destiny event, when he's blaring that great music and we're all jumping up and dancing, and like when you feel on top of the world, what can you accomplish then?
then you can you feel like you can accomplish anything.
Anything, anything. Like when you feel amazing, you're like, I can do anything. And so my podcast is the Good Mood Show. And the book that's coming out this year is The Good Mood Revolution. And I teach a framework I call the progression of moods that takes you from the lowest bad moods, which guilt is one of the two lowest bad moods, this idea that I need to punish myself because I'm not good enough,
Mm.
all the way up to the highest good moods, joy, love, peace, excitement, gratitude. And the longer we can stay at the top of that map and the more we can clear out all the bad moods at the bottom of that map, the more joy, success, happiness, fulfillment that we can have in our lives. And that's what I'm really passionate about.
Mm. Yeah, and I love this idea because you talked about state and physiology and mood. So how did those three intertwine? Is there a difference between state and mood, or elucidate that for the audience?
Yeah, so Tony Robbins teaches state before strategy. And he's like, there was a great line. I used to have it right here on my whiteboard in my office. And the line said, when I don't know what to do, I know exactly what to do. Get myself in a powerful state, beat my chest, do a couple push-ups, do a couple jumping jacks, feel powerful in my stance and my physiology, and then my mind will follow. And that is different than mood. But
Mm.
I do talk about changing into a powerful state in my book on how to conquer fear. So when we feel fearful, worried or anxious or like what's going to happen, we start to like get into a small ball. We shrink ourselves, and when we're afraid, we're like protecting ourselves, and the smaller we get, the smaller we think. And so to conquer fear, if you are feeling anxious or afraid of something, sit up straight, pull, like imagine there's a string attached to the center of your chest, and pull your chest up like Superman 2 degrees higher than you normally would. Put your shoulders back, maybe do like 10 squat jumps and feel strong. And then your mind follows and your whole body feels really strong. And then from that place, from a strong mind and a strong body, now you're like, man, I know what to do. I know exactly what to do. This is how I conquer this. I've become more powerful than my problem. The problem used to look bigger than me, but I just got bigger than my problem. And when I'm looking down on it, it looks really small now. And that's easy to solve. But that is different than mood,
Yeah.
because there's lots of different moods, right? Fear is just one of them. And I think this idea of using your physiology is a great recommendation for getting over fear. But how do you get over the bad mood of anger? It's totally different. When you're angry, you're already kind of puffed up and bowed up and you got your chest up. And so that mood of anger requires different techniques to conquer.
Yeah. Which brings us to our next question is, a lot of people, they're listening to this, are like, okay, positive mood, positive framework, and when the world is going to shit, like in COVID, or, let's say, today's business environment, and you've got AI, and, and then you've got war, all these things, how do you balance these fears and stay in a good state? Like, these things can really take you out, affect your family, your business, everything.
Yeah, the first thing to do is to say, well, what's actually affecting me personally? So war in Ukraine,
Mm.
that's out of my locus of control.
Hmm.
I can't do anything, or I could, I could send money, I could get really invested and involved. I could probably find lots of ways to help, but it's not in my immediate world of what I can touch and what I can change within my world right now. So what can I control? I think that getting super afraid and worried and anxious about things that really don't have anything to do with me at all isn't helping me improve the world. We
Mm,
think that like maybe watching the news and being super invested in how much other people are suffering will help alleviate the suffering in some way. It won't.
mhm,
What will alleviate suffering is helping yourself become super positive, become a really bright light, and every single life you touch, you improve. So in my town, I'm a board member of Make-A-Wish for the South Carolina chapter where I live. I go out and meet children that just got the worst news ever, and their moms that just found out they've got a cancer diagnosis and they have to live in a hospital for the next 3 years while they try to hopefully save their life. And I can't be bummed out about Ukraine. Well, sitting down with this child and their mom and saying, "I want to make your wish come true." What
mhm,
what's the one thing you want to do that would bring you the most joy in the world? And sitting down with those kids and they're like, man, I want to, my family deserves a break from the hospital. Could we all go to Disney World? And I'm like, heck yeah, we go to Disney World. Like, let's get away from this hospital and away from these cords and plugs and this, and then get you out into joy. And you know what? Just the positive expectancy and the hope for these kids, they start to heal because their mind starts to get more excited and hopeful. I mean, it's proven that these wishes actually heal children. And then going to Disney and having the experience and coming back from the wish and like talking about how it changed, like their whole healing journey changes. But my point on that story is I can control that because if I feel really happy and there's people within my locus of control that I can touch and I can change their life, I can make a difference here. I don't have to get all bummed out about things that are so far away from me that I'm not involved in.
mm. Yeah, I love that locus of control, and it's what's what you can control, what is out of your control. The other question I have is can you share a specific time when your philosophy helped you overcome a significant personal or professional challenge, and what are the key takeaways and lessons from that?
Yeah, last week. So I own a real estate company. I have 80 employees that
Hmm.
that report to me, and my job is to guide us in the best direction we can and help everyone have as much success as possible. I also own a property management company that manages people's properties, and that has a different set of employees. Well, last week I got news that the National Association of Realtors is going to cut realtor income in half starting in July.
Mm-hmm.
And so all the people under my care have just taken a 50% pay cut, but they still have the same mortgage and the same, utilities and the same food costs and the same things that they've been trying to make it on their current pay structure. So, that was on Friday. I got that news
Mm-hmm.
and I could choose to spiral and despair and sadness and grief and anger and frustration and fear and all these negative feelings.
Mm-hmm.
But succumbing to all that negativity isn't going to help me make a positive plan of action on how to move my team forward. So in the face of fear, what I said earlier is you have to rise up and make yourself powerful. And from a powerful place, you can come up with powerful ideas and powerful actions. And so I created the 5-step plan right next to me here.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, if we're going to lose 50% of our business, 150 million in transactions, I just need to make up 150 million in transactions. And I got 3 months to do it. And
Mm-hmm.
so we're on my 5 steps. We're going to increase our seller business. Maybe I can increase that by 50 million a year. We're going to increase our commercial real estate business. Maybe I can increase that by 50 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
I can hire and recruit and train more agents, maybe 20% more people than I'm currently working with. And I can look at my P&L. And so tomorrow, my wife and I are going through our profit and loss statement, and we're saying, hey, which costs are non-essential that
Mm-hmm.
we could do without so that maybe we don't have to make another 150 million of sales. Maybe it's only 100 million of sales.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the plan. But I had to be strong in order to see these other possibilities of solutions.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, in a crazy way, my property management company last week as well, our biggest client that was responsible for half of the revenue said,
Mm-hmm.
hey, we're going to bring property management in-house.
Mm,
And
hmm
so I met with my team on Thursday and I said, hey guys, we just lost our biggest account. We're going to lose 20,000 a month unless
hmm
we find 200 more units to manage.
hmm
And I said, we can't lose 20,000 a month for that long. So I'm going to give you guys 2 months to figure it out. You have 2 months to find 200 more units. And the team, and I'm like, I don't want to let anyone go. I want us to figure this out. And I also told the team, I said, hey, if anyone wants, I'll give you a 2 month severance pay right now, and you can just jump. No one took the severance. They all said we're going to commit to figuring it out. Here we are. So that was Thursday. I met with them, and it's Tuesday. So less than a week later, we got a commitment for another 200 units from a different owner 5 days later.
mm,
So, I mean, it's divinely guided, right? Like I have a lot of faith. I know that God's always looking out for me, but I also think God doesn't help those who don't help themselves. And so when we're faced with a big challenge, we can shrink and get upset and angry and frustrated and fearful and all those things, but they don't help us. What we need to do is get really strong and start to say, well, what can I do? What action can I take? And there's always going to be solutions if you're resourceful.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. It's all about resourcefulness, and it's a lot of from the trainings that you've taken, it's really shown and how you apply it. So, it may and your show is growing as well. So that's another way. I love this conversation, and I think people really need to check out Matt's his channels. He's got a lot of good stuff, YouTube as well. Kind of talk about, last 5 minutes or so, this legacy of joy and, what's the most important lesson about happiness and good moods that you want to pass on to your children and your listeners?
Yeah, if you're listening right now, just I didn't know this when I was younger, but happiness is completely a choice. And I know that sounds cliche to say, or maybe even not true, but it is. Your happiness is completely within your control. You're the only one with your hand on the happiness dial. No one else is turning it up or down other than you. It has nothing to do with what's going on in the world. As I just explained, my world like completely got set on fire last week, right? Like,
Mhm.
you know, uh, losing half of the revenue, losing half of the revenue in two different companies, like massive crises in my world. And you don't have to succumb to stress and worry and upset and unpleasant feelings. Like my wife prayed last week and she said her prayer was, God, we ask that you give us peace in our hearts and that you allow us to cherish the paradise of the life that we get to live right now, even as we figure these challenges out. And a beautiful prayer. My wife is an incredible woman, and that prayer came true. We chose to this weekend go for walks with our kids. We took them on a bike ride out to a Mexican restaurant, and we had a date. We went on a date. We went to the movies. We saw Dune 2, and it was great. We just totally disconnected from, what was going on, and my wife and I had a meal together. And so you can choose to be happy even as life throws curveballs at you. And if I had anything I wanted my kids to take away, or you listening to this episode to take away, it's that happiness is a choice. Now, how do you choose it? It takes a tremendous amount of training. To understand that you can choose to be happy in the face of challenging emotions or challenging situations takes a lot of training. So I encourage you to check out the Good Mood Show podcast because we talk about it every week, how to choose happiness in the face of challenge.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And this kind of a bonus question is you've taught actionable strategies, and what's one simple tip people can implement to improve their mood?
Yeah, my favorite one is the journal. And I got three small things I do every morning in my journal. And I'm just going to tell you because it's the one thing that can reset my mood more than anything. But when I grab my journal, the first thing I do is I think of three things I did well the day before.
Mm.
I've been doing this for a decade. Every morning I grab my journal and I just say, 1, 2, 3. What are 3 things I did well yesterday? The reason this is so important is that your brain is always saying, oh man, Matt, you've messed that up. Oh, I can't believe you said that. Oh, dude, you could have done that better. Well, our brain's constantly trying to get us to improve. So it's always showing us where we're falling short. Well, I need to tell my brain that I'm pretty freaking good too. So every morning I'm like, well, hey, I did that great. Hey, I made that person smile. Hey, I made my wife coffee yesterday just the way she likes it. Like as soon as I start to list the things that I did well, I start to believe in myself more and become more positive. The next thing after I write 3 things I did well is I write 3 things I'm grateful for. And not the same 3 things. It has to be 3 brand new things. So I've been doing this again for, like I said, for a decade. After 3,600 days, right? You start to like run out of things to be grateful for. Like, oh man, I already said my wife and my kids and everyone I know and everyone I ever went to school with and my car and all the things I own. Like, what else is there? Well, you start to find out, man, I could be grateful for everything. I could be grateful for the challenge that's making me more resilient. I could be grateful for the cat that showed up on my doorstep last night asking for food and the opportunity. Well, this is a true story. A stray cat shows up on our doorstep last night and, I'm like, awesome. I went and got a can of tuna fish and our kids went out and we were feeding this cat. The cat ate the whole can of tuna fish in like just a couple of minutes. It was so hungry. But I was grateful for that experience that we got a chance to feed this animal. So you start to figure out like every single thing is a moment to be grateful for. And you do those 2 things, man, your whole life becomes more positive.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. And it's almost like training your brain to, look for the good in everything. Just like even if everything's, you just look for those little nuggets. So I love that. For all the audience, let's thank Matt for coming on and really check out his stuff and follow up with him, check out his website, his services, his podcast, and give him a like and follow on social. And with that, thanks so much for coming on.
My man, dude, I love your show. You're like my hero. Like you have become such a big star in the podcast space, and I'm just so proud of you. Thank you for having me on.
Doctors dedicate their lives to caring for others. It's time someone took care of you. Visit patternlife.com to simplify your path to peace of mind. Patternlife.com, simplifying your insurance journey.
I'm excited that you made it for another episode. You are truly the best. If you've been following the show for a while, you know that my passion is to bring you the education you need to find your path to financial freedom. Please come back week after week for new content, new resources, and great guests. Until then, if you haven't already, please be sure to check out the website, www.drchrislumdphd.com for more support. I'll see you next week.